Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new season of On the Bench here with Columbus Wired. I'm Dave Seaman, and I'm proud to be able to introduce Steph Greger, who's going to be joining us this year, and welcome aboard.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll talk a little bit about Blue Jackets hockey tonight. Let's talk about the fact that we've got a little bit of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde performance going on this season so far. We're only 3 games in, and already they're showing flashes of brilliance, and then balancing that with, well, what the heck was that kind of play? Do you agree?
No, I mean, the Jackets have now started the season 0-3. It's the franchise low, I guess. I don't know how you put it. The first time in franchise history that the Jackets have started 0-3. And, the biggest Achilles heel at this point for the Blue Jackets, 0-16 on the power play.
That's a pretty devastating stat for the Blue Jackets. Obviously, they had some difficulties last season as well with their power play. Talk a little bit about what do you think, Dave, that they need to do right now to get back in the game on this?
Well, I mean, first things first. We're 3 games into the season. You've played 3 games in 5 nights, or 3 games in 4 nights. So there's no reason to panic. Let's also consider the fact that we're 3 games into the season and we're not playing with arguably our best defenseman, James Wisniewski, who was suspended in the preseason, for 8 games. We're also not playing with Jared Bull, who's out with a hand injury. So, you've got 2 key injuries that are really hurting the team. But, let's face it, you got 7 or 8 new guys on this team from last year. So it does take a little bit of time to really gel.
Yeah, it does. It definitely takes some time to gel, and we're certainly seeing that again this year. But that was also an excuse that we saw a lot of last year as well, the chemistry and trying to gel. But we're actually seeing, and here's a positive that we can take from this is, Jeff Carter on the top line with Rick Nash, there was a little bit of a concern on that, but they've been doing pretty great out there. Vinny Prospel, how about that guy? Goal tonight. He's just been fantastic. Jeff Carter has had 3 points, I think, in the last 2 games previous to tonight. So we have a top line that, while there is some difficulty with the chemistry on the power play, the top line seems to be doing great.
Obviously, the first night, it was all about the first line, Nash, Prospel, and Carter. And, the second night, or the second game against Minnesota, they were also very relevant, Prospel getting a goal against Vancouver. The problem I see at this point is, who else is stepping up? It seems like a constant issue with the Blue Jackets since day one. Yeah. You have your stars stepping up, but where's Antoine Vermette been? Where's R.J. Umberger been? Derek Brassard started the season on the 4th line. He got promoted to the 2nd line in the 2nd game, or in the 3rd game, but again, someone's got to step up.
Yeah, I mean, Brass definitely needs to be involved in there a little bit more. I think we're going to see him a little bit more in the second line. I'm sorry, and he needs to be there. I think he's a pretty strong presence. He had a pretty great hit tonight. If you saw that, did you see him? Threw a guy against the board. I mean, Brass is really stepping up on defense, which I think is impressive. But can we just talk about one person right now, because I want to get it in there. Are you ready? No, Matt Calvert. Can we just talk about Matt Calvert for a second, because that guy is giving it his all. I was talking to you a little bit earlier. He got his face smashed on Saturday night, and I feel like once that happened, he was a true hockey player. I mean, once you get your face smashed, you're a true hockey player. That's it. That's all there is to it. And then he came out tonight, and that guy battled hard. When Cam Atkinson got his goal tonight, and the assist went to Derek McKenzie, right before that play happened, it was Matt Calvert who was out there battling for that puck. So, I mean, you talk about players who are stepping up. Matty Calvert, he's out there 100%.
You mentioned Calvert. You mentioned Atkinson. Maxim Mayarov had a goal in the 2nd game of the season. He's a guy, he was a healthy scratch the first game, has come out and, he's a presence. And he's somebody, you saw what he led, he had 3 or 4 goals in the preseason. He's a guy who's going to come in and, he may be playing on the 3rd or 4th line, but he's a guy who's going to give you 20 goals in a season. The other guy you got to mention is Ryan Johansson. First game he played, maybe not necessarily noticeable for the good or for the bad. I mean, you got to, he wasn't noticeable either way. He's been a healthy scratch the last 2 games, but, kind of like what Boston did with Tyler Seguin last year. Of course, they won the Stanley Cup. Yeah. They kind of eased him in. By the time you get later in the season, he was ready to go.
Yeah. Let's talk a little about Mason. How are we feeling about his performance so far?
I think it's, you said Jekyll and Hyde, and it's just, again, it's the story of Steve Mason's career. I mean, take away the first year, take away the Calder Trophy. He's been up, he's been down, and I'm not going to say that it's always his fault. I mean, again, we're missing, we are missing a defenseman, we're missing Wisniewski. So that is an issue. You're one of your top six, not in the lineup. But when you think back to the first game, Feder Tootin has a horrible turnover which led to a goal. The game in Minnesota, the whole team really just came out flat, and he really didn't get a chance. Monday night against Vancouver. Again, when you think about the fact that the Blue Jackets were out shooting Vancouver 16-2 in the first period, it should have been more than a 1-1 game, and I think that's an issue. You got to go full throttle for 60 minutes, and it isn't all Mason's fault. He should have some, but
that's the point I wanted to make. I don't think that this is all Mason's fault. I think it's incorrect for people to say that these losses can be pinned on Mason. I don't think that's true at all. Mason actually had some pretty fantastic saves that the game could have been worse. I mean, Mason really stepped up. He had a couple of great saves. But once again, it's that overall image of the Blue Jackets where they have these just great moments of brilliance, and then they have, moments where you're just like, how did that happen? How did we go from this to that?
Well, yeah, and it is early. I mean, what has to happen though is, like Coach Arneal said after the game Monday night, just got to win a game. There's no reason to panic. You're 3 games in. Vancouver was in Columbus for 2 days waiting for him. So I mean, one game at a time. You got to get a win. Wednesday night, Colorado's in town. Then you go on a road trip. Coming up this weekend at Detroit, and then at Ottawa. We'll get our first look at former Jacket Nikita Filatov. So I mean, we have 3 games coming up. 2 of those 3 are very winnable.
I definitely think a win on Wednesday is doable for the Blue Jackets, and I think wins are doable for the Blue Jackets in general. They have a great team. They have a great squad, a lot of talent. It's just a matter of finding the right chemistry and just making sure that everybody gets on the same page and they get in there and they make it happen. I think they can do it.
Well, yeah, I agree with exactly everything you said. Again, it's game 3. Right. If we're still in this situation at game 10, at game 15, then we have to start worrying.